Well, the early weather at 30 degrees that we were promised is now receding as the weather's getting distinctly gloomy and some rain spots are beginning to fall. Let's keep your fingers crossed that the road doesn't get too slippery, because Alex Zülle is not the world's greatest at staying upright when it's wet. Though, mind you, down at Bosch in the prologue time trial stage, the Tour de France last year, when it was very wet, he managed to stay upright and take the prologue and the leader's jersey. Here he goes. What makes you think that the Spanish are interested in cycle racing, eh? All these people on the side of the road pay nothing to watch this international gathering of racing cyclists from as far afield as Colombia. They've got Russians here, we've got them from Denmark, we've got, well, Great Britain, but Chris has gone home now. We've got riders from all over Europe, riders from outside Europe too, and here they are in a free show. It costs nothing to come here, it costs nothing to cheer. Watch it, Alex, watch it, watch it, watch it. And now those spectators who cross the road can come and see him come back the other way. Typical time trial stuff, turn in the middle of the road, but normally those people who do it at the crack of dawn in Great Britain do it at their own risk, because there's Julian Marshall standing there with a bit of paper and a pencil ticking off the numbers as you turn round there. Would FT Bidlake expect to see crowds like this on the side of the road? I say that because FT Bidlake was really the father of British time trialling, and if he's alive today, he may be looking up there, he would think, hey, this is great. These quarter pictures you see on the screen now show on the right-hand side of your screen, that is Alex Zülle powering away, who looks like he could well take the leader's jersey in the Tour of Spain as a result of this time trial today. On the left-hand side, trying to stay with it, Laurent Dufaux, the man in the yellow jersey, or Amiro jersey, as the leader, not going quickly at all. And then in second spot on GC this morning, Escartin at 13 seconds. Also, he'd like to find himself being pushed down out of the top slot. Well, Zülle will take the lead anyway. I don't think Escartin will still be there, but in third spot. He might even drop a bit further down behind that. We're waiting to see what the final roll call is of the time of Le Danois. He didn't do a very good time trial anyway, but there's slight shuffling of the pack. But undoubtedly at the moment, the way Zülle's going is going to put himself up there in the leader's jersey. I was mentioning that FT Bidlake, the doyen of time trial in Great Britain, would be fascinated by the way in which this time trial here is being received by the Spanish public. And Zülle, who's not the world's greatest at staying upright in the wet, he now will recognise the dangers of this, and so Escartin chucks away his crash out. You can see from his elbow he's already come down in this race so far. He has to ride his heart out. He started this morning in second spot, 13 seconds down on Dufaux. He wants to keep that second spot, but I think somehow Zülle could well go past him. Zülle was only 1 second behind Escartin, and Escartin at the first time check I've got on my screen was 10 seconds down, 18 seconds down on Zülle. He knows he's got a fight on his hands now. He wants to stay away from the other people, like Muller, for instance, was fifth this morning on general classification. Muller's been doing a great ride too, but what a disappointment for the camera rider. You can see the scars on his legs now, who's crashed under these damp conditions on this stage of the time trial on the Tour of Spain. On the top left, Dufaux. Bottom left, Escartin. Top right, Zülle. Bottom right, Permeni 1 from 3. And in fact, Zülle now looks like he's about to catch the man in front of him. This must be Le Danois as he comes through now, started 2 minutes behind him, the man who won that superb stage up to the top of the climb at Sierra Nevada. He goes zoom straight past him. He catches his 2-minute man. Well, you time trials know the feeling when you catch your 1-minute man. Fancy catching a 2-minute man in a 35-kilometre race. Back into English language, 21.86 miles it is, and he's caught Le Danois. So Zülle's gone past Le Danois now. Dufo doing all he can to redress that balance, but it looks like he might well be out of the frame, because the gap is opening up between himself and Zülle. Started 14 seconds this morning down de Zülle on Dufo. The time checks coming in show that it's going to be a close run thing. Dufo really riding, but to me, the best time trial of his life. Can he come good towards the back end and keep that Amarillo jersey? What a race we got on our hands. Using all the modern technology here, the overall leader starting today, stage 9 of the Tour of Spain in Córdoba, the time trial stage over the 35 kilometres. Dufo then with his disc back wheel and his special spoke front wheel. Now out there on the road, the riders here coming in under dry conditions. Enrico Zaino, who's finished second in the past in the Tour of Italy. Not a great time trialist, riding on and finishing way down out of contention. But Lenoir of the GAN team has now got his eyes fixed on Alex Zülle. Zülle and Escartin, who started 2 minutes behind Alex Zülle, and behind Escartin 2 minutes back was Laurent Dufo. A bad crash then taking out Escartin's hopes. I think it will have rocked him quite a bit here with that disc wheel going round. It makes an awful roar, by the way, but it's very narrow, this Campagnolo disc wheel. It allows the wind to go past. See how narrow it is now to cut down the wind resistance, using every bit of modern technology on a course today which was flat enough for them to use the Klaus Müller. Now that is a disappointment. He was third at 12 kilometres. He's now 7th. Look at him, he's shaking his head. He's not happy. He has faded from the scene. Müller was third at 12 kilometres. He must really have blown a gasket. Not his cup of tea or a glass of wine. 44.04 for Escartin. That is disappointing for him. 32nd at the moment. He's lost a lot of time there. Boy, good ride here by Dufo. Started 2 minutes after Escartin. He's 8th at the moment on there. 41, 42. He's going through 42 on his screen now. He's certainly lost the lead, by the way, to Zülle. But the thing is, can he stay in the top 3 then over on general classification? Dufo comes in 42.35, and so he's lost the lead now to Alex Zülle, 41.49. I must just quickly check back. Zülle, 38 seconds on Mauri, Goncho, Jalabert. No, I can't see anybody else taking over the yellow jersey, the Amarillo jersey from Zülle. Zülle now is going to take the lead overall. That's the position of the time trial you see on his screen at the moment. Gonchar came good after a pretty disgusting tour so far. Jalabert on his way to recovery in 3rd spot. Zülle only 4th, but nevertheless that will take him into the Amarillo jersey. But disappointing ride then for Dufo, particularly Escartin. But of them all, Escartin can go back in the mountains which lie ahead of the riders as they head up north on the Tour of Spain. Some big stuff yet to come as we get up to towards the north part of Spain. Disappointment then for Escartin to crash when that little fall of rain out on the far side of the course surprised everybody, and surprised him too when he came down with a bang. But Escartin will come back in the mountains. So this race really is turning into quite a fascinating one. We don't see the control in this race we've seen in other races so far. It's still up for grabs with so many people in with a chance of getting it. But certainly today, the victory went to Mauri, but Zülle has the overall leader's jersey. Piccoli on your screen right now, and on the far side the breakaway rider Vichario with him from the Estepona team. And what a tour they've had so far. They've had one stage victory, of course, already with Anguita, but it will be a turn up for the books if they can beat so many top stars here. And that's what I like when the underdogs come along and catch the big teams napping. It's quite standard practice that early on in a race that some of the smaller teams will send riders down the road and the big teams have to chase them, a bit like sort of the hare and the dogs at the dog track, but and usually they catch them, but of course they don't catch the hare at the dog track, do they? Because it's mechanically operated. There we've got Alex Zülle at the moment, one on his back from last year's victory in the Tour of Spain, wearing the yellow jersey as the overall race lead at the moment. Not concerned with today's stage because nowhere that his top contenders for the crown, Dufour and Escartin, can pull any back today. As the Estepona team manager comes up yet again to give him a time check. Useful little climate in the mountains, but right now he's in with a chance of getting a stage victory here to add to his, I won't say illustrious successes because he hasn't got a lot. And so this is going to be the underdogs today in the Tour of Spain, just showing that it's worthwhile throwing down the gauntlet, having a go at the big boys, and they've ridden superbly well. They're going to come in here now way ahead of schedule. They've been averaging well over 25, but that's the usual thing, somebody's gone out in a bit of a crash there. There's got to be, what, about 27 miles an hour of average speed today. The main pack will be coming round that corner any moment now, but they come in towards the finish. Who's going to get the one? Piccoli got that one. Vicario just behind him. So that now with the big bunch coming through behind the sprint for second place. Look at the gap then, it's come very close indeed. The slightly uphill finish. Asics on the right-hand side. Left-hand side looks like Guidi. And Rust, left looks like Sferrard, the left-hand side, might have been just ahead of the Skriniar rider. A bit difficult to see from our position, but I think it might have been the Mappe rider, Sferrard, who came in there into third spot, but it was just a sort of nothing last year, for the year before that, stage victories, or victories as such mainly in stages, and now the longest patience has paid off. He's a character who always has a go, by the way. A number of times we see his name coming up, going for the King of the Mountains competition, going for the interim prizes. He's always prepared to have a go, this chap, and more often than not he gets sucked in and absorbed, but this time you can see the look on his face. I made it, but once I actually got there, God knows. Can't believe it, can he? And behind them, Vicario, who'd done his work during the day, just couldn't hold it on that climb. So this fellow is always prepared to bounce around. I seem to remember him in the Tour of Italy grabbing the King of the Mountains prizes early on as well, because he's prepared to go right from the gun on the smaller climbs, pick up a few points along the way, but then get sucked in and blown out the back before long. But he's got his success today. There we are, we've seen it in slow motion. In fact, yes, he won the King of the Mountains Tour of Italy in 1996. I said I've known he'd been up there all the time, good little climber. So he's the King of the Mountains winner in the Tour of Italy last year, and I remember then he was prepared to go. The King of the Mountains in the Tour of Italy had the sort of same rankings in points for all the different climbs, where it's third, second, first, or what have you. But he's always prepared to have a go, particularly early on the smaller climbs, get himself some points. And he did just the same thing today. Romped away on the first climb, went back in the bunch, and 44 kilometres from the start, went off on his own and grabbed the lead with Vicario, and now he's got his stage victory there. I like this sort of day when the underdogs come good. So I hope you join me tomorrow to see if the same thing happens again on Eurosport's covering of the Tour of Spain. From me, David Duffield, and the crew, it's time to say to all of you, hasta mañana. kilometres to go. Stevens and Salvato still in the lead, as the main bunch are not far behind them. But when they come to the climb at the end of it, you'll see them changing gear, so the chain moves across on the sprockets. And the whole thing is, if you're riding your bike, best thing is to ride as just a pleasure rider, ride on lower gears rather than higher gears. Sometimes I see people pushing an enormous. That's the trouble with the old Sturmiata 3-speed gear. Most people would start off in bottom or middle and whack straight into top gear and go down the road, sort of turning the pedals around every so often. It hurts. The thing is to always keep a nice rhythm. See how these chaps are keeping nice rhythm now, and they've been racing on this stage for thick end of 5 hours, and they've done now nearly 120 miles. They've been riding their bikes today, and always see, look how the legs are going nice and supple. You don't see them pushing an enormous gear around. You keep changing down to make sure that you've got the right gear for whatever lies ahead. So that's what it is. Julie Hard out in Ilkeston asking about gears. I hope I've done the best I can then. Yes, certainly I'll send you some more pictures of Stephen Roche for the collage of cyclists in your son's bedroom. And well, nice to hear from you up there in Ilkeston, where my friend Joe Donovan had his special bicycle development unit with Raleigh all those years. Used to pop there and see what he was up to in design and development. But that was some time ago. Now it's today, and now it's the stage into Plasencia, the final stage before we have the day off tomorrow, as far as these riders are concerned. Relaxation for all concerned, a chance for us to sample some of the delightful food which exists in this part of the world before we set off and everybody else sets off for tomorrow. There we go. This climb is beginning to sap the strength of these legs. You can see it going up and up and up and up in towards the top of the climb at Plasencia. We hope we have a good look at the cathedral then as well, and the tremendous old houses round here. We're going through the new part of the town at the moment, but still on the front, Neil Stevens is trying hard to win this stage of the Tour of Spain. The main bunch chasing down Neil Stevens and Salvato on this 11th stage of the Tour of Spain into Plasencia. They've got this steep climb ahead of them. They've got about 2 kilometres to go at the moment. Stevens looking back over his shoulder, and the Once team begin to wind things up. None of the Festina squad will aid the chase because their man is down the road. Nobody from Refin will do the same thing. The Once team will do what they can, I think, to try and pull this back, because this could suit Jalabert today. This long grind up towards the finish is ideally suited, I think, for Jalabert to get the stage. But Stevens then, the man who got the stage victory in the Tour of France just in July, now looking for a victory in the Tour of Spain to add to his success. Jalabert is in a reddish coloured jersey, 1 kilometre to go. They're going to close him down. Watch out for the reddish coloured jersey of Jalabert lying back there behind the yellow of the Once rider. But also a good climbing here from the Calme team. Don't think they can last it out to get the sprint at the end of it all. It must be one for Jalabert, who's lying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back from the front. Brochard is coming up too for Festina. He's had tummy trouble. Has he recovered? Hamburger, it looks like he's there for TVM2 as well. It's going to be not a sprint specialist like Vust or Sferrada to get this one. It's going to be somebody who can climb and sprint at the same time. The big, long, sweeping right-hander. And then they're going to come up this towards the finish. That's the first of those big, sweeping right-handers. And now here they come with this group of riders, still compact. And surely Ado on the front here. That's Ado, I think, for Calme. Can't last all the way round, coming round the final turn. A bit of a left-hander to come, and up the avenue to Extremadura. Who's going to get the stage victory? I can see Guidi coming through at the moment, and still in the centre, one of the TVM riders coming up now. Is it going to be the big fella himself, Mickelson? But no, on the left-hand side. Right-hand side, they're all over the place at the moment. Brochard on the right, also in there. See Pascal Hervé. They're fighting for this one. The sprinters are coming through, and that's Ferrado, I think, on the right-hand side. Has he made it? Well, he has at the end of it all. Well, dear me, that surprised me absolutely. I think that was Ferrado of the Mappe team. It was not the sort of finish one would have expected one of the sprint specialists, the big chunky men, to have survived and come through. I'll wait for confirmation of that one, but all the pushing and the shoving and the toing and froing going on towards the end, that long drag up towards the finish was cooking most of the sprinters. They were dying 1,000 deaths in the last 200 metres or so, and I'll wait for confirmation on that one, but there we are. Let's look at it again. The big sprinters on the big gears, the specialist climbers trying to do what they could, like Brochard there on the right-hand side, began to run out of steam. Ado in the green and white for Kelmy, also running out of steam too. Coming up there on the left-hand side for, looks like Skriniar begin to have a go at this one, but no. From the right-hand side of the pack, burying himself here, goes to Mappe at the moment. I'll wait confirmation of that one to see if it was Ferrada, but that was a fine performance by the Mappe riders to take the stage. Only about to be absorbed by the main group. We're inside the final 25 kilometres, of which the last 13 or so are uphill to the top of the Alto del Maradero, and there we will decide, I think, the situation regards the yellow jersey. Can Zülle hang on to it? The overall position as they come through at the moment onto this crucial stage after yesterday's rest day is that Alex Zülle has a lead of 32 seconds on Jufa. The main pack all together, so the battle for that jersey will be fought out on your screens live on Eurosport today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day, because we've got 4 days with lots of big mountains and mountaintop finishes for them to fight for that Amador jersey. Can Zülle stand the impact of the Festina squad? All will be revealed as we go now out of the built-up area and into this very, very narrow road up toward the top of the climb. Zülle this morning, 32 seconds in the lead on the general classification ahead of Laurent Dufaux of Switzerland, the Festina, or Lotus Festina rider, there in the blue and white colours behind you. There's the Once rundown on the team that now are defending that yellow jersey. Zülle wears number 1 because last year he was the victor in the Tour of Spain. He's also getting help for the man back there in that pinky coloured jersey, because that is Jalabert, winner the year before, 1995 of the Tour of Spain. And Jalabert has taken a bit of a pasting. We saw him on the second day in the mountains really be blasted out of the pack, and Jalabert now is back in 14th spot overall in general classification at 6 minutes and 57 seconds, so he has to help his teammate out there in defending that yellow jersey. Escartin of the Kelme team, the green and white stripy coloured jersey you'll see later on, is a 3rd overall at 2 minutes and 14 seconds. There, Jackie Durand easing himself out the saddle, looking back over his shoulder. Won't be liking what we're getting into now, because we're coming up towards the mountain climb. Does not suit people like Jackie at all. It's the day of the mountain goats, and Escartin, lying 3rd at 2 minutes and 14 seconds, can climb with the best of them. Unfortunately, in the time trial at Cordoba, he crashed and lost at least a minute. Otherwise, he would have been a big threat for Alex Zülle's jersey. Well, Benesto putting the pressure on already. Now this attack at the moment coming, and looks like Jimenez is going off the front. He has to do something as far as Benesto are concerned. They're not very well placed on the overall classification. In fact, no, so I might say it's Alonso. Jimenez is the man who can best do something about this, because Benesto are going to come out this race with absolutely nothing to show for their part. They've lost Alano, who, like Chris Boorman, were absolutely fatigued by the heats and by the race early on, and so as they're now way out of contention for the GC, they've got to start and try and do something on one of these 2 climbs. But there at the back then, putting his hand out for his pocket, that's Jan Sverada, already being shelled out the back, the man who won the stage into Plasencia the other day. So Jan Sverada, already the sprint specialist, won the stage the day before yesterday, is struggling. Typical tactics in the mountains. Alonso on the front for the Monesto team searching for a bit of glory as far as they're concerned. I suppose they can only look back now in recent weeks and say, apart from Milano's fine performance in the Grand Prix Eddie Merckx, perhaps their best placed rider, their most successful man in recent weeks has been Britain's Jeremy Hunt, riding in the Tour de l'Avenir with his stage victories there. He's second and third and fourth place as well, just showing us that in the future we've got some talent to look forward to as we now have 20 kilometres to go. And thank you for the facts I've had from Alan Bate, who wants to put together a professional team to be sponsored by somebody to take Britain into the top echelons in European cycling. Yes, I agree entirely, Alan Bates from the Liverpool Cycle Centre, with exactly what you're trying to do. I know you've been trying to contact a lot of top companies to provide the money, to provide the opportunity for British riders to race together in Europe. But the big trouble is, you see, that you have to look European. You have to find a sponsor who has a European budget. And whilst we're watching the early start of this career, let me tell you about the problems I had when I was with TI Rally. The rally company, we were setting up operations all over Europe, but to get the money to run the TI Rally team, one of the most successful pro teams in recent years, I'll shell off the back, we watch him going here left, right and centre. I'll pick him up for you one by one. Gonchar, the time trialist, who've just gone out here while I lecture to you. When we had the TI Rally team, each of the nations, like the Dutch didn't want to put money into it, the Brits wanted their own money for their own marketing, and the problem is that even if you've got a global or a largest company, it has individual budgets for each of the nations, and those nations want to spend money the way they want. And it takes somebody who says, I am in charge, like here Festina. Rodriguez, the man who runs the Lotus Festina watch company, sells his watches across Europe. He recognises the importance of television to promote his product across Europe, and he says, right, I'm a European company, I'll spend money on a European sport, cycle racing, and I am the boss and I will spend it. Now, the individual companies out there respect that. They may have their own little advertising budget for local publicity as such, but they respect his desire to do it, and he spends the money. But you don't always find that with central operations. They more or less allow the money to be spent at the local level by the various sub-companies, and you have to find a company that has a universal budget. Even Coca-Cola, for instance, the big worldwide operation. When you see the advertising on the Tour de France, it doesn't come out of Coca-Cola America. Coca-Cola France pays it. I'm sure that Coca-Cola America will provide some money towards it. But generally speaking, you have to find a company with a European attitude, a European budget that can transcend the local nation's desires. And with all due respect to the Brits, I banged on many doors, Alan Bader. I don't know if you listened to me out there in Liverpool at the Liverpool Cycle Centre, but when I was with TI Rally, we went round all the top people looking for co-sponsors. We banged on many doors, and because they had English budgets, British budgets, even the big companies just didn't want to know. You have to find somebody who has an interest outside Great Britain. I mean, Once here with this, what you see on the screen now, they're quite prepared to put the money in because they're a Spanish company. It's an Institute for the Blind, it's a lottery in Spain, but also Spanish television covers so much cycling that they're prepared to have their team race all over Europe. Now, in England, except for Eurosport, what other do you get on the Tour de France on Channel 4, whose work I respect as well? But the big money spenders don't see cycling in Great Britain as being something to help them sell product in Great Britain. Now, Once here, that the Spanish know, because there's so many people in Spain watch television, they're quite happy to sponsor a team which races outside Spain because there's so much television coverage in Spain. Virtually every day, all the week, there's something going on telly about cycle racing, and that's why they sponsor the team. So without telly in Great Britain, you won't get a British sponsor. You have to say somebody, I've got a universal product, I've got a European product, and I want to sell it. But then, of course, those European products are often not based in Great Britain. Now, you watch here, Mappe going through. Somebody's punctured. Was that Jalabert? No. I'm sorry I'm lecturing whilst this is going on, but I thought you might like to know. It's not that easy. Casino on the frontier, big supermarket group in France. They're prepared to put up the money because the coverage they get on France television. Festina the same. Spanish company loves the coverage, prepared to support it. Kelme, one of the longest sponsors in cycle racing, again a Spanish company. Shoemakers, also sponsored by Costa Blanca, who again, see Costa Blanca, Costa Resort, wants to show its name to all the viewers across Europe. TBM here is an insurance company. Although based in Holland, they have organisations all the way across Europe. Gan, for instance, too. Gan has got its operations in Great Britain, although it's changing at the moment. And my step-nephew, Eddie Whiting, I wonder just what he's going to be doing in the future. But Gan at the moment looks like the company is going up to be sold. The French are now going to denationalise it as such. But Gan is an insurance company across the whole of Europe. So that's why they have riders like Chris Boardman riding for them. And that's why you see these chaps up here. They are cycling showmen for companies. They're great athletes, but they're carrying on their bodies the advertising of the people who pay the money for a team to ride, to be picked up on television, written up in the newspapers, and promote the products. But what a hard way for these lads to earn a living, isn't it, eh? Oh, they're getting shelled out here. Oh, dear. Doesn't matter how much money you get, boy, when your legs go, you are stuffed. And the stuffing is coming right, left and centre. 109 on your screen right now. And that for the Gan team is Cedric Vasseur, who took the yellow jersey in the Tour de France, that lone break. And here, Claudio Chiappucci riding for ASICS. Again, that's a well-known European brand. I think it's originally in Japan, I think, but certainly it's a clothing brand, shoemaking company, which is sold all over the place. So I'm sorry if I've lectured a bit to you back down and bait, but I certainly want to get back to Great Britain. We'll get in touch with them. Tony Rominger for Cofidis beginning to go off the bat. Cofidis, they are a supplier of credit to people in Europe. You can phone up and get, rather like your credit card back in Great Britain. Therefore, they want to expose their brand name on European television. That's what it's all about. But bike racing is all about power. And these riders are just showing how much it is to hurt on the climbs. The climbs which are now taking the toll of these tired legs. They had one day off yesterday. They all went and did some light training. But now you can see again the creme de la creme is coming to the front of the field. And I don't think here you can understand the pain and suffering of these riders on these climbs as Jimenez starts to move away. The man who was suffering the other day, he took an awful pacing on that stage into the Sierra Nevada where he went round in a great big circuit. He got dropped a couple of times, he came back, he attacked, and then at the end of it all, he finished in fourth spot. And Benesto will be looking to him to do something because they really are down the pan when it comes to getting some success in this race. They placed all their hopes on Olano, who looked good at the start of the Tour. He's gone back and he's had medical tests, by the way. He hasn't found those medical tests. The results haven't come through yet, but he's still waiting to know what it was, what virus knocked him out in the Tour of Spain. Why did he feel so shattered? Why was he struggling so much in the Tour? So at the moment then, their hopes rest as we come through the 16.9 kilometre point, as Sir Phillips in his television said, in full flight on performances like the man on your screen at the moment, Jimenez. One by one, they're dropping out the back on this terrible, terrible hard climb. Jalabert, oh, he looks like he's having trouble holding the pace now as well. Just following on behind Claudio Chiappucci. So they've lost quite a bit of time. Claudio Chiappucci desperately searching for form, desperately searching for a sponsor for next year. He has to show well in this race, but Jimenez now beginning to go very well indeed. He's been through an almighty lot of bad patches, and he's prepared now to try and do something about it. He's lying 48th overall general classification, 21 minutes and 20 seconds down. Who would have thought that of a man who finished 8th in the Tour de France this year? But that just shows you the way in which these riders, their long season, the pressure they're under, and now exposed. Zülle on his own in yellow, nobody with him, but look, hovering behind him in the blue and the white are the Lotus Festina team. This race is suddenly developing on this day into a right sort of rip-roaring race to see if that yellow jersey can be totally threatened. Brushard at the moment coming up here, not had a good tour so far. He's had some sickness, he's had some stomach trouble. Just behind him, Zaino of the ASICS team is also struggling to hold the pace at the moment on this tremendous climb. We're now looking at the Kelme rider on your screen coming up then, and they've got in Dominguez, John Carlos Dominguez, who must really be searching to do something to help Escartin, who lying this morning in third spot, 2 minutes and 14 seconds down on general classification. Zülle's still there. But look at the Kelme riders, they're there as well. And down the road we can still see them going away one by one. Zülle is exposed. He's under threat right now in that group. Still see Zaino. Oh, it wasn't Zaino that got blasted. Number 29, still Zaino. Palazin, the champion of Italy, on the left-hand side. So Zaino, my mistake, is still there. Also looking good at the moment is Jimenez, ploughing away here to try and get the stage victory. Graham Watson takes his happy snap. I'll have 2 entrants, please. Oh, dear. Let's see what the gap is. Well, we rather thought today that we might have an explosion on the first of 4 days in the mountains, and who could have predicted this one then, as Jimenez goes through. In the lead right now, 32 seconds back to the chasing group, with Dufo in there on the front, and there is Escartin, heavily bandaged from that crash in the time trial. And there's quite a gap opening up to other riders dropped off the back, including Laurent Jalabert. That's a chasing group of riders. It really has. There's Jimenez on the left-hand side of your screen, leading on the charge to the top of this first category climb. We came over the second category climb, breakaway group of 5 riders, just 1:21 up, was soon absorbed on the flatlands below, and then the proverbial has hit the fan now as we're starting to go up toward the top of this climb. See the narrow road here. Once we've got the top, everybody comes down the same road. It goes nowhere, this road, except up to the top of today's finish at the Alto del Maradero. Jimenez on the front, Dominguez chasing him. Then that is the big group, or what's left of the big group behind him. I should think Dominguez has been sent down the road here, perhaps to put the pressure on the Festina and the Once team and give the Kelme rider Escartin a bit of an easy ride, because Dominguez is way down in general classification, 28th at the moment, 10 minutes and 1 second, so that we have a battle who's going to win the stage up in front. And here we come back to the attempt here from Dufo, who start this morning 32 seconds down to snaffle the yellow jersey of the Once rider Zülle, and he's exposed. He's on his own. The rest of his team are no longer with him. Dufo there, the 2 Swiss riders having their own private battle. Escartin here, hunched up over his bike. Look at the teammates he's got with him there at the moment. Pascal Richard, what a great ride he's got there. There are no less than 4 of the Kelme team riders up in that leading group at the moment. Just bringing up the tail end here of this little group. That's Galdiano of the Escatil team. But the power of the Kelme squad, they are on the overall classification, they're leading on the team standings. This day is going to help them again to keep that team award, the Kelme Costa Blanca Eurosport squad. But Zülle on his own. There's Escartin, look, watching him every move. Often they've complained that Escartin is a wheel sucker, a man who follows wheels, doesn't attack, but we saw him attack in the Tour of Catalonia when he had a go at Chris Bourman. He had a couple of days really ripping off the front. We saw him attack also in this tour, and I think that towards the end we might see him putting the pressure on Zülle. But we've got 4 days in the mountain. Maybe he can bide his time. Maybe he can let the Festina team, in fact I think if I was him I'd do the same thing. Ride a couple of days, let the Festina boys try and take back that 32 seconds and just sit there waiting, and then when they're a bit stuffed maybe 2 days down the road from now, have a go. So that may be Escartin's tactic. Sit in the wheels, get a nice easy ride, if you call it easy ride. You've got your teammates with you as well. Dominguez is down the road. Zainab in that little group still this morning on general classification, lying in 8th spot. Galdiano still sitting at the back here, and Mape, Parazin. Not doing anything about it at all, just sitting, waiting for it to erupt. It's one of these long, gradual climbs, by the way. It reminds me a bit of Wales, some of this, but it flattens a bit after the 18-kilometre point, and then we go up a bit more and on towards the finish. So we've got one or two false flats, actually, at the 1,506-metre point. It, in fact, goes slightly downhill to Colado, and then it's a last little charge towards the end. So this could suit Zülle, a nice, long, constant climb on his lovely titanium bicycle. There, starting just behind him. But look at the number of Kelme riders. They've got 4 men in this, 3 here and 1 down the road. That's our leader, Jimenez. Desperately needs a stage victory here. Benesto need to take something back out of this race. I mean, over the years in their home race, because their big bank in Spain, it wasn't until it had financial problems, the biggest bank in Spain, I think, and then it's also well known across Europe as well. They kept on sponsoring their cycle racing team. They could see the value of that because the problems they had financially a few years ago were nothing compared with sponsoring a cycle racing team. They kept it going to keep the name in the public eye. Of course, they had Indurain under contract, and he was bringing lots of publicity, but since he's gone, they've drafted Orlando, who has an erratic season. He comes good occasionally, but doesn't seem to have the consistency which you need, particularly in some of the big tours. You've got to set all the way at the moment. It has to be Festina putting the pressure on Zülle. I don't think today is likely to be the final day of reckoning. Well, I say final, this race is only in its 12th stage, another 10 to go. But looking at the profiles of climbs yet to come after stage 12, stage 13 tomorrow might be unlucky for some, because again we go up to finish at the top of a big mountain, the Station d'Esquid de Branilin, and that's going to be 1,460 metres above sea level. They'll tackle that after being over a first category climb no more than about 40 kilometres away. So tomorrow's going to be a big showdown. The next day, stage 14, finishes up the Alto de Naranco, and then the big one really, stage 15, Lagos de Cavadonga, which they talk about the Spanish Alpe d'Huez. So what you're seeing now on your screen is a wearing down process for the next 4 days, or this and 3 more to come. So I suspect that today will be a little soupçon, a little bit of a sort of pipe opener as far as the mountain climbers are concerned, just to see who's got the strength, who's recovered from the effort so far. So still sort of sitting there looking very comfortably. Oh, the going attacks are coming. Oh, this is good stuff. Very good stuff indeed then, as Jekka's been doing so much work on the front to keep the pace going. And down the road, we're just seeing the attacks come. That's fascinating, and Pascal Richard it was that started that one. Oh, he's coming back into form, the Olympic champion who had that terrible crash in training when he got hit by a car before the start of the Tour de France, couldn't ride that one. Richard could be a dark horse here. This is not his most famous sort of thing to be. He's not the world's greatest mountain climber. He's 7 minutes and 7 seconds down overall. He could do with a stage victory, and I say these 4 days are going to be absolutely critical and vital in the Tour, because there's so much that can be done in these 4 days, and you're watching live on Eurosport these great riders battling it out for victory today. Jimenez, who set the fastest pace up this climb then to the stage finish at the top of the climb, 1,750 metres above sea level, the Alto del Maradero, and this is what's left of the main group. Galdeano on the right-hand side of your screen. Just up in front of him is Zaina. Here's a chase going on with Dominguez trying to catch up with Jimenez. And this is the man in the lead, almost on home territory. Some of these Spaniards, they love these little narrow roads through the little villages and then up into the mountains. This is their territory where they ride. This is where they can train. This is where they come from. And you can imagine if you're a bike rider in Great Britain trying to, flog around on the flatlands of Leicester or out in the fens, or maybe go through the traffic around about Birmingham, Coventry and Worcester. The only place you can go, I suppose, is the Malvern Hills and out the Cotswolds and so on. But this is the proving ground of so many great racing cyclists. And now suddenly Kelme got 2 men up in the front. You have to go to Europe to race. If you're going to do any good, come over here. Don't sit back at home and ride the time trials up and down the A1 thinking you'll get behind a big lorry and it sucks you along and you go cycle raid. That's not what bike raid. This is what it's all about. In the mountains, on the little roads, being under pressure from so many international cyclists. This is the way to do it. And Jimenez then, now 10 kilometres to go to the finish. Let's look at his lead. The two Kelme riders on the right-hand side, Domingos, who started it all, coming up toward that 10k to go. The main pack still, or what's left of the main pack, but certainly the yellow jersey group, let's call it that, on the left-hand side of your screen. Top shot of Zülle's group on the right-hand side of your screen. Well, he's gone. Domingos now is suffering. So Domingos now has lost out and went through there 33 seconds back. .45 still, they've not come through. And Taylor and Charlie Galdiano brings that up. They didn't actually, 54 seconds it was back to the yellow jersey group. Well, they're spread all over the place as this climb goes on and on and on. And Jimenez still in the lead. Interesting to see in that group, by the way, fighting their way up this climb, is the rider who wears the white jersey as the overall leader on the general classification of the climbers. That's Estepona's Clavero, Cerezo, who still seems to be in this little group at the moment. In fact, no, it is Clavero that's made it, not Cerezo, his teammate. It is Clavero that's made his way through into this little group, 81 just up there, just ahead of Farazin, and pulling off the front. Jekka's done his job there. He's absolutely blown a gasket now, and Jekka, who's ploughed away at the front to help Pajufo, has done all the work he could to keep his Swiss teammate in contention. We had an interesting situation there. Jufo is from Switzerland, Zülle is from Switzerland, and on the front Jekka was leading the pace from Switzerland also. But watch now for number 111 here, Escartin. He has to do an attack here, I think, at some point. And in fact, yes, it is Clavero of Estepona, not his teammate who wears the white jersey. This thing zigzags all the way up, short straights, little turns, little roads, all the way up. And now inside those final 10 kilometres, Jimenez is looking for a stage victory. Banesto must get something out of this race. So Domingos being hauled back again. I thought actually when they launched the Kelme riders down the road that they were doing it for Jimenez here in the green to go up to them one by one. I can't understand quite why they attacked, but Domingos went away, leaving their team captain here a bit exposed, because none of them were great threats over on general classification. I'd have thought they'd have stayed here with Jimenez because maybe he had a puncture or a problem, or for psychological reason they could have ridden with him. Instead, two of them went down the road. I know he's still got one teammate with him, he looks back now at the moment, but in reality, the other riders that went down the road were no threat over on general classification. Unless Jimenez is prepared, Escartin in the green pants here is expected to attack now, go up to his teammate, and his teammate turn up to the other one and so on. There's no sense in doing what they did. I couldn't understand the tactics at all. They could have stayed with him and then gone off together, one by one, sheltering, but the tactics are very, very strange indeed. And I wonder what their team manager, Pino, will have to say at the end of this little one, because that was a most strange situation with four of the Kelme riders in that leading group to play it off one at a time. So Alvaro Pino, the team manager of the Kelme team, who won this Tour of Spain back in 1986, I'm sure he must question the tactics then, unless something's going to happen now that I know not of. On that side of the screen, Zülle in the yellow. Just by him in the blue and the white is Jufo. The one in the white jersey just behind him from the Estepona squad is Clavero. Going off the front now, Pascal Richard, the Olympic champion, finding form at the right time. See at the top of your screens, that's where they've got to go, and they've got to go even further than that too. And Tonkov's gone with him. Well, Tonkov has had some very patchy days so far, but since his wife gave birth to a child, I don't know whether it's man, woman or child yesterday, but certainly Tonkov is now a dad. I'm not quite sure he's dad for the first time or dad for the umpteenth time. I'll have to check my facts on that, but I'm more interested in the bike race at the moment. But dad, I think, wants to prove a point. They say very often that on your birthday you do well in sport, but maybe when you're a dad, it maybe have the same effect as well. But Tonkov now is going away with Pascal Richard, and he's hanging on. He's been through some terrible bad patches, Tonkov. I'm not quite sure he had a touch of bronchitis or the toilet two-step, but he wasn't in good form early on. He's lost a lot of ground on the overall classification, Tonkov. He's no threat to this lot here, so I suppose he decided now he might as well try and go for a stage victory. And what if Tonkov gets that victory today and dedicates it to his new baby? Remember in the Tour of France when Neil Stevens got his victory there as well, and he came down that finishing straight rocking a baby in his arms towards his wife Amaya and his little daughter Maylin, the daughter that was born the week before the Paris. The attacks are coming now. And Dufo is putting the pressure on Zülle, and Escartin is responding. You see now, sticking out of Dufo's ear, there's a little hearing aid in his ear. No, he's not going deaf. That's a way in which he's listening back to his team manager's instructions. So they'll be coming up thick and fast. Escartin support on the side of the road, complete with banners. You get them all over the world, don't you? Escartin's going. I thought about time he attacked, but I'm surprised that he's left him at this particular point, because really he had got his teammates in strength at one point, and I thought that was a time to use them as a stepping stone. But you see, they responded, and Zülle has now started to put the pressure on, saying, hey, I'm still the boss, I'm still in yellow. If you think you can get it off me, then you've got to race me for it. So now we've got the first, second and third overall on general classification, looking to pull back Tonkov and Pascal Richard. The man who was second in the Tour of Italy this year in the bluish-coloured jersey, lying in second spot there. First in the Tour of Italy last year, winner of the Tour of Switzerland. In fact, Tonkov there, the top of your screen in the Mapei colours, pinched the Tour of Switzerland off for Zülle a couple of years ago, so maybe the score to settle here. And Zülle in the yellow is showing his strength. What a threesome. First, second and third overall on general classification. And again he goes again. Good move, you see, because when Dufo was in the centre and Zülle was on the left-hand side, he attacked, you see, which meant Zülle, who's the leader, has had to now come and take the chase up, and Dufo will just ride with Zülle. There's no reason for Dufo to chase down Escartin. It's Zülle's job to pull him back, and Escartin did the right thing. He went the right-hand side away so that Dufo was between him and Zülle. They